Charlie's Angels film. This time she is blaming the media and she's saying there was not this quote gendered agenda from me. Let's get into this. So she recently was promoting her The Beanie Bubble film with Rolling Stone's Marlo Stern. And Stern asked, what did you learn from the Charlie's Angels experience? Banks responded saying, for me, regardless of what the actual product was, so much of the story that the media wanted to tell about Charlie's Angels was that it was some feminist manifesto. That's actually coming from you and actress Kristen Stewart. I believe Kristen Stewart described it as woke. To quote her, she specifically called the film woke. You are literally marketing the film as woke. Your own actress was promoting it that way, and you were promoting it as part of the quote-unquote Me Too agenda, which we'll get to later on. But let's continue with your most recent comments. You said people kept saying you're the first female director of Charlie's Angels. And I was like, they've only done a TV show and McGee's movies. What are you talking about? There's not this long legacy. I mean, just absolute gaslighting. It's amazing what these Hollywood people will do to try and protect their reputation. They will lie, and lie some more and hope that you don't remember what they actually said. As for the film's promotion as a pop feminist powerhouse, Banks then claimed that she had signed on to the project solely because I just loved the franchise. Sure. There was not this gendered agenda from me. That was very much laid on top of the work, and it was a little bit of a bummer. It felt like it pigeonholed me and the audience for the movie. You did that yourself. You did that yourself. You literally blamed men for not going to see this film a week before it even released into theaters, which we will get to. To lose control of the narrative like that was a real bummer. You don't lose control of the narrative because you set the narrative. You didn't have to answer the questions about it being a feminist film. You could have given very different answers to those questions. You could have also made it clear that it wasn't woke. You wouldn't have been promoting it that way. You realize how the media can frame something regardless of how you framed it. You are the media. You're literally a Hollywood director and actress. You are the media. What are you even talking about? I happen to be a woman who directed a Charlie's Angels movie that happened to star 3 incredible women. You can't control the media saying you're a lady director and that's special, which it is, but it's not the only thing. You were literally promoting it that way. Like, seriously, stop. You're not fooling anyone. She went on and said, I remember having a conversation with someone who was like, you guys are going to have a partnership with Dry Bar, which is like a hair blowing thing. And I was like, all right, but could we have an ad during the baseball playoffs? Charlie's Angels is not only this one thing. I think she has a point there. It was definitely Charlie's Angels is an action film. It should have had ads during the baseball playoffs. I don't know if they did or not. I'd have to double check that one. But she might have a point on that one. It was interesting to see how the industry sees things that star women. It was a real lesson for me. I think this is more gaslighting. I think that the industry has no problems marketing big action films that star women on predominantly male audiences, such as sports. You see that with Wonder Woman. I mean, the Charlize Theron stuff, the Gal Gadot stuff. I mean, you see it all the time. I mean, the Barbie marketing is pretty much everywhere. It's everywhere. It's on everything. They're not afraid of that. So I don't really know where this is coming from. Maybe it's the marketers you work with. Maybe find some better marketers, because the marketers that I see seemingly have no issues marketing high-powered action films with starring women as the leads to male audiences. So let's get into how this was an absolute, she's just absolute gaslighting people. And she's tried this before. She did this with the New York Times back in September 2022. So just a couple months ago, she's trying to continue this narrative. And she says it was an incredible experience. It was very stressful, partly because when women do things in Hollywood, it becomes this story. What? I guess you make it the story. There was a story around Charlie's Angels that I was creating some feminist manifesto. I was just making an action movie. No, you weren't. I would have liked to have made Mission Impossible, but women aren't directing Mission Impossible. I was able to direct an action movie, frankly, because it starred women and I'm a female director. And that is the confine right now in Hollywood. I wish that the movie had not been presented as just for girls because I didn't make it just for girls. There was a disconnect on the marketing side of it for me. Yeah, blame yourself. Blame yourself. Stop trying to blame other people. You definitely were involved in the marketing. And I, like I said, get better marketers, mainly you. Get a better marketer. So we have the evidence right here. Asked by Collider's Sydney Bucksbaum in 2019 while promoting the film, how is this reboot going to be more feminist than the original? This is what Banks answered. I honestly feel that the property has all the bona fides of feminism already built in. So wait, I thought you said you weren't marketing it as a feminist Feminist Manifesto. You're literally saying that it has all the bona fides of feminism already built in. So sounds like it was a feminist manifesto. Nevertheless, Banks went on and said, I really didn't have to do much other than honor its entire history. By that I mean the original TV show was about women who went to the police academy, but then were not allowed to actually be full police officers. The women were absolutely gorgeous as well. They weren't Kristen Stewart level. I mean, let's be honest. So even in the casting, you clearly had this intersectional feminism going on, and you race changed the characters as well. They were given the jobs of desk clerk or meter maid. Charles Townsend came along and said, now they work for me. My name is Charlie, and gave them the opportunity to live their best life. I feel like this entire endeavor is about giving women the opportunity, including myself, to participate fully in a really big action franchise. We've done it. It's been something that's been in the DNA of Charlie's Angels from the beginning. Again, talking about feminism being in the DNA of Charlie's Angels from the beginning. So she's clearly saying, I mean, that sounds like feminist manifesto to me. So then Buxbaum then asked, what were you looking for when it came to casting all of the angels? Remember, intersectional feminism was all over the angels. Very obvious if you looked at the casting of that film. When we were casting the movie, I wanted really fresh faces. I wanted a diverse cast. Intersectional feminism, that's what that means. It's important that women in the audience for this movie sees themselves in some part of this movie. So she's also saying that the audience for the film was women. So she's marketing it specifically towards women, and she's casting it as intersectional feminism. Not the Charlie's Angels that people know and recognize from the television show, from the McG movies. But she is the one who is marketing it as mainly for women. I think that's really important. I want the audience to feel a sense of ownership over the film, that they could be in this movie, that they could live in this world. It's a real message. Except they can't. Come on. Let's be real honest. Like, most women are not as attractive as the original Charlie's Angels. They're not as attractive as the McG Charlie's Angels. They're just not. So they can't live in that world, and they can't be super spies either. That's the whole point, right? So utterly ridiculous comments here. Instead, it's a fun action romp. We casted a bunch of hot actresses, and we wanted to get them in a big action movie and make it fun and just have a good time. But no, you're marketing it as for women, feminist, and you want it to like reflect the audience, this whole representation BS narrative that doesn't make any sense. Especially when you think about that representation, when you actually ask what the inverse is. If you actually buy into the representation narrative and then you do a race swap or a race replace, what does that say about the people of the race that you are replacing or swapping? If representation is so important, why are you removing that representation from those individuals? Makes you think, right? Makes you think. It's a movie that I want to entertain all audiences, but I did want to make something that felt important to women and especially young girls. Again, promoting feminism here, important to women, especially young girls. So then also with Collider, she said, one of the ingredients of this movie was supporting and believing women. We literally have a character who is essentially working at a big corporation and is not being believed or listened to by her bosses. So again, this was at the height of the Me Too stuff and the believe all women. And that's what she's promoting it on. She's promoting it on this hyper feminist political movement that was happening at the time this film was coming out. Believe all women, Me Too, all of that stuff. Which is utterly ridiculous, especially when you had people coming out of the woodwork lying through their teeth, and you're trying to get people to believe all women when it's like obvious that they're lying for political gain. And then she goes on and says, one of the statements this movie makes is that you should probably believe women. We have as much validity in what we're feeling and how we want to go about living in the world, being in the world, and what was really important to me, that we felt like we had characters that were being taken seriously and given a chance to live their best life. So I did also want to go over this part here. She did talk to the Australia's Herald Sun a week before the film came out. And this is what she said. She said, if this movie doesn't make money, it reinforces a stereotype in Hollywood that men don't go see women do action movies. So she's basically blaming men for not going to see the movie a week before it arrived in theaters. And then she criticized men's taste in movies as well. So not only did she want men to go see her film that they obviously did not go to see en masse, but she also didn't like the movies that they watch. And she specifically pointed to superhero films like Wonder Woman and Captain Marvel. She says they'll go and see a comic book movie with Wonder Woman and Captain Marvel because that's a male genre. So even though those are movies about women, they put them in the context of feeding the larger comic book world. So it's all about, yes, you're watching a Wonder Woman movie, but we're setting up 3 other characters, or we're setting up Justice League. Again, this was just utterly ridiculous comments even at the time, because Charlie's Angels is like an action spy thriller, and I would say that's probably a male-dominated dominated genre as well. James Bond, Mission Impossible, et cetera, et cetera. Obviously, you do have women that like the James Bond. They like James Bond in general because he's cool, suave, good-looking guy for the most part. They usually cast a very good-looking man that brings the ladies in. So you do have that. And Charlie's Angels had that too in the original television series and in the films. They obviously chose not to do that in the intersectional feminist casting. I think there was like one of them was like obviously a knockout, looked really good. But Kristen Stewart and the other girl just I don't know, they're mid, right? That's what we say now. They're mid, and that's just being honest. About like how they like their attractiveness. That's just being honest on that. Anyways, that is what Elizabeth Banks has to say. That is the narrative that she is pushing now with the Charlie's Angels movies. She's literally trying to gaslight people, lie to your face, even though she obviously marketed it as a feminist manifesto film.